Hey guys, it's Steve Kidwiler, former NOFX guitar player from the Ribbed and S&M Airlines albums, current guitar player for Speedbug USA, and I'm here with Jay Bleed doing the Crash and Bleed podcast, coming at you as live as possible.
Alright man, so you started out playing drums and guitar. I've always just been curious to know what style of drumming that was.
I actually started off just playing drums in general, and the means around the house was a little limited. My brother had a kit, an old Rogers set, and much to the chagrin of my parents, I would play every time my brother wasn't home, and then when he was home, he'd play. So they said, "Fuck all that," and bought me an acoustic guitar that next Christmas. So it was like, "Here, you're playing guitar now," kind of thing. So, and I've always said with my little snubby nubs here that I have drummer hands, but ended up learning to play guitar, and kind of that was the start of that. That was about 10 years old. So I did play drums with a couple of bands through high school just as a means to an end, and but also guitar as well. And then kind of pushed on, continued with the guitar, which unfortunately didn't work out 100% going down to LA because in all the Music Connection magazines and whatever, there was 300 pages of guitarist available, and like, one page of guitarist wanted. So essentially you were unwanted as a guitar player. So, and that was, I think I moved down there in about 86, 87.
Yeah man. Well, could you ever play fast? Like, were you able to drum that hardcore style?
No, originally it was just pretty much rock and roll stuff. We probably, gosh, I don't even know if we did really even heavy bands back then. We were doing, and this is in the '80s also. So let's help me out here a little bit because I'm an old guy. But we did, like, gosh, I remember doing an April Wine cover. I think we did some Bad Company stuff. So we're talking, maybe stuff your parents listened to back in the day. So no, the punk stuff that we had in the neighborhood was pretty much, we had three guys that skated quite a bit. They had a half pipe in their backyard, and I was exposed to some early Black Flag with Keith Morris. Some Circle Jerks, which was great because then I later met and got to be really good friends with Greg Hetson. And God, man, there was a little bit of Gang of Four and maybe some Dead Kennedys, which is my only connection with Jello, and why he ended up doing the voice on the audiobook, I have no idea. So, hey, you gotta dance around every once in a while and keep that
Yeah.
light on.
I might have to get up and turn the light on in a bit, but this.
Just have to do a little skawing every once in a while.
So, what was your favourite punk band before you joined NoFX?
I can't really even say I had any favorites. Like I say, I had minimal exposure. Before I met Eric, and how I met Eric, I was actually helping out a buddy of mine who played guitar for a band called New Improved God. And before they grabbed that name, they were called Freaks. And they had a pretty good following in LA, which exposed me to Haunted Garage, um, Pygmy Love Circus, um, a lot of bands like that that were. It was a really cool niche in Hollywood at the time because it wasn't really like hardcore punk, but they were definitely punk. I could shout out because the guys in Pygmy Love Circus, I think three of them wore kilts. So it was early on. I'm not. I want to say even maybe before Flogging Molly, maybe somewhere around in there. I don't want to get anybody in Flogging Molly upset with me, but that kind of stuff. So I was definitely exposed to kind of more of that LA underground stuff, but really didn't start going to true punk shows, with more of a hardcore type thing until I met Eric, who was good friends with the bass player for New Improved God, and that's how Eric and I hooked up and eventually ended up joining the band. So. Um, NoFX definitely opened my eyes to a lot more bands in that realm. So later on, some of my favorites. Oh gosh, of course, Bad Religion. When we recorded our first record, they had just released Suffer, and I was like, wow, this is great. And then either Jay Bentley or Brett gave me How Can Hell Be Any Worse? So then I was introduced to that kind of stuff. And so then started going more to more of those shows. And I was just open to just about anything, you know. So um, Big Drill Car. I mean, there were definitely a few that I got into, but once I joined, really, I'm not going to claim that I joined the band with, a 3 foot mohawk. That came later.
Yeah. What were those early interactions like, meeting Smelly and Fat Mike for the first time? I think we only found out from the book how your interactions were with Melvin, because you guys used to work together in some kind of factory, right?
Yeah, once I joined the band, then he worked down at Fred Siegel, which was a real foo-foo kind of clothing store. But we had a gig in the warehouse that would allow us to leave on tour for 2 or 3 months at a time, and we would come back during the annual sale. We had to time it just right to get back in September, because they would be going nuts trying to do this annual sale, and us coming back and kind of knowing the lay of the land, so to speak, we would easily jump back into our jobs. So we kind of ran that whole gambit for a while with that. So, but Eric and Mike, uh, that must have been out at a cat named Ming's house. He was this. I'm not sure exactly what his entire background was, but he was this crazy Asian guy with these long dreads, kind of losing some of them here and there. Whether that was from age or maybe he had a crazy parrot or something. I don't know. He had a place that had to drive pretty far out the two. I don't remember what town it was in, but went out for the first rehearsal, and without any internet or any of that kind of stuff. Mike saw me for the first time when Eric and I walked up to the rehearsal room, and boy, he was dead set against anything I had to offer at that point. I think he was like, "No way is this guy going to be in my band?" Had the long blonde hair and whatever else was going on. I think at the time I had a couple guitars in pawn, so I ended up I had the V that I came out with, so that wasn't I wasn't making any friends with that thing. So um, yeah, I mean, it was weird because, yeah, there weren't, a whole lot of expectations on either one of our sides, again, because we hadn't seen each other or heard of each other or anything like that. So I had listened to the Liberal Animation album with Eric, and it was definitely on the rough side. But I had also heard the single that they did of S&M Airlines, and I really liked that song. I thought this thing's really got some potential. So, and with Sandin, gosh, Sandin, fuck, he was something else at that point, man. He was a nut completely and off the hook all the time, and dance around. And but I recognize great drummer, man. I mean that whole Santa Barbara RKL type bomber, crazy double beat. Uh, I mean, not few did it better. Very few did it better than Eric did, and so I was really impressed with that. So yeah, I mean, it was just kind of like, whatever kind of thing, but we jammed, and it had been a while since I'd played in a band, so I was digging that. Eric and I hit it off really well. So, but from what I hear later, Mike was like, yeah, there's no way this guy's gonna gonna be in the band. So, and I can't tell you when it happened, but next thing I know, I'm in the band. We're working on songs, and they tell me at that point that we've got uh, a 45 song set list that I need to learn. So,
Oh, goddamn. Well, you mentioned liberal animation there a few moments ago. What did you actually think of
yeah.
Dave? Did that make you hesitant to join the band, like hearing stories about Dave and what this band was like?
Before I joined, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of when I actually it was probably when I was already in the band that I got more information on Dave. Um, the guitar playing. He wasn't a bad guitar player. I'm not gonna my point is not to come on here and bag on anybody. So it was just definitely I was more used to a more polished kind of production, I guess you'd say. And they did that, most of that themselves. I know they did it at Epitaph, but they weren't actually on Epitaph at the time. So, um, but Dave, who I love to death, Wedo is a sweetheart. I learned more about him later through pictures from Jer, their roadie. He dove into a log at one point. I don't know. It's maybe in the book, but he
Yeah.
had this Frankenstein scar down his face, and we actually probably my second show with NoFX. We played with Dave's new band out in Riverside, and as soon as we got there, Dave came up to me, and this was my first, exposure with him. He's like, "Hey, man, can I borrow your guitar, man?" And I'm like, "What happened to your guitar?" And he's like, "Oh, man, I just fell on it and broke it, man." Yeah. And I'm just like, "No, you're not going to use my guitar, man." So we were playing on a back porch, and there was a tree growing right from behind the porch, and there was a nice root system, and apparently he went off the porch and then ate it on some roots and broke the guitar. So but no, I had to tell him he needed other means to find a guitar. So, and then there was Riot Police showed up like about halfway through our set and did the Blues Brothers hut 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 all around the back fence and walked forward and basically got us out of there. We took off helicopters. I'm like, I got in the right band apparently. We didn't go to jail though. So,
Yeah, man.
and here's the Dave. I love you, Dave.
So, aside from this early version of S&M Airlines with Dave on guitar, how many of those tracks were actually written before you joined the band for S&M
The whole
Airlines?
album was written, and what's interesting is I got blamed because the sound of the new stuff was metal, quote unquote, and so I got branded pretty quickly to being the metal guy that joined the band. And because there was that whole crossover thing that was going on about that time, and people were definitely not digging the crossover. Not going to bring up any bands because personally, I don't have an issue with it anyway, but I think DRI and a couple other bands, had a little different sound. And yeah, I don't know if it was just maybe the production, but I definitely got blamed for that. Even though yes, the entire album was written, I joined, and I had about 3 weeks to learn the material. And which when you're playing, on S&M, we got like 5 feet under. Um, I mean, there's some S&M Airlines is not an easy song to play. I mean, there's some hard ass shit to play on that. And Mike had a real messed up way of picking, so I had to learn that because he's got this upstroke thing that it baffles me to this day. He's a great bass player, but I definitely had to learn how to pick all over again. So
So, you say a lot of this, well, all of it was written, but did they have those guitar parts written? Like the leads?
No, I mean they had, and Eric and I play entirely different stuff. He's doing those octave chord things, and so what was tough was the first couple gigs I played with him. If I kind of got lost, and for the most part, I never really jumped in and played a song all the way through. Maybe like Six Pack Girls or beer bong or something like that, where there's a fewer parts, then I can play that as a song. But other stuff, like I said, 5 feet under, I mean, that was part to part to part to part to part, and then that all came together as a song. But I always played it like, okay, now that other part's coming up, now that other part's coming up. And if I fell out, and screwed up and couldn't figure out where I was, if I tried to listen to what Eric was playing, well, God save me, because there's no way in hell I could even know even what song he was playing. I'm like, God, I thought we were playing a totally different song. It's just we played stuff that's that much, entirely different. So that was the thing I remember most. Demos, we didn't have any demos. So basically it was Mike playing his crazy bass stuff, and it's like, okay, play kind of this guitar part over here, throw a lead in here, and then he'd give me like basically 4 seconds to play like a little lead run somewhere. So I learned quick that I had to throw these little gibberish things in here and there, at the drop of a hat. So I mean that's kind of it. Once I learned the picking, then I just had to memorize each section of the song and then kind of put it all together.
So, were you forced to listen to RKL Rock and Roll Nightmare?
I was introduced to the first Rich Kids on LSD album, and Chris Smokin, guitar player. We had actually seen them. I believe it was at the country club one night, and Little Joe, the bass player. Holy crap! I mean, he blew me away. After seeing them, I definitely said, okay, I know where this is going. I can see where this came from. And Mike's okay with me saying that, because big influence on him. Bomber's drumming, and like I say, Chris's guitar playing. So, yeah, it definitely kind of helped me say, okay, I get it now. But right there at the beginning with S&M, I was kind of on my own. There wasn't really a whole lot of other guys that sounded like what NOFX was doing. And I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm not helping you. But so it was, there was some uniqueness to it just because I didn't borrow a whole lot from anything other than what they were giving me. So, but then later on, and of course, by the time we recorded Ribbed, there was a few more influences coming in. We had done some touring, played with some other bands, and I had kind of figured it out a little bit more. And I actually did write a bit on Ribbed, so there's a little bit of my stamp on that one.
Yeah, man. Well, just looking at the back of the CD here, it actually doesn't have any recording information. So was this West Beach? Because it's on Epitaph.
That's West Beach Recorders. That's Brett, the legendary Starbolt Gurowitz's place. It was a little house that was behind the parking lot where Raji's, which was a great punk club on Hollywood Boulevard. So it was a little, I think maybe 2-bedroom house. The board and everything was in what used to be the kitchen. There was a look-through glass into one of the bedrooms, and then another bedroom off to the right was the isolation booth for the amps and everything like that. So that's where we did both of the albums. That's where Pennywise did their first album. I believe that's where, I was present when Bad Religion did No Control. So that was all done there as well.
Oh, wow. Okay. Goddamn. So
Yeah.
in the studio, is it always you playing the leads and Melvin playing the rhythm? Is it never Melvin playing any of the leads on this one?
Not on S&M, no, but on Ribbed, he did play a couple, and I'd have to think exactly which ones they were, but I was really impressed with what he came up with, and I thought that was really cool. So more than happy to give him a little area to stretch his legs a little bit as far as that goes. So, but no, S&M, I was given pretty much full reign of the lead stuff.
Oh, okay. So how was this recorded then? Were you doing like a full band or recording each instrument at a time and then doing overdubs?
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was pretty much live band, and then you go through typical setup. If there's any bass punches you need, you do that. Your main thing is you want to get your drums, in as tight as possible, and then maybe a couple guitar overdubs. I don't think there was much on the S&M. It was pretty cut and dry. Live tracking, coming back, maybe overdubbing some leads, and then you did your vocal tracks, and it was I can't remember how long it was, but I'm sure it was somewhere about a week at the most.
Were you there for all of that? Like, were you interested in sitting in on everyone doing their part?
Yeah. I had nothing else going on anyway, so I hung out. But yeah, no, I was way more. I mean, that was really my first time. I had done one other recording session, probably about 6 or 7 years prior to this, in a band that I had in my local town, and it was like a 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning session, and we had to bang out 3 songs for a demo. We had $500, and blew the whole thing in Madera, California, blowing that out. So This was pretty much all new for me. Little starstruck with Brett, and so no, I was more than happy to hang out. And there was a little kind of family room area too, so Eric and I would hang out and do whatever. But no, extremely interested in the whole recording process. I learned a lot.
Yeah, well, it's kind of cool that you're credited for influencing the sound of this album, like making it a little bit more metal than maybe Fat Mike would have liked. But it's a great album, though, dude. I mean, what are your memories of recording the song Day to Daze?
Day to Days, kind of a precursor to maybe Moron Brothers. It had that kind of, Sandon was definitely hopping from couch to couch at the time. So I think it was kind of that kind of a vibe. Like, he was, living on the streets a lot at the time. He and the rest of the Dog Patch Winos had their little shtick. They would, I'll tell you a joke for $1, get rid of me for $1, that kind of thing. So, and I was all new to that. So Day to Days, that would seem to me to be kind of maybe an early cursor, not maybe a direct biographical about him, but guys similar to that where they're hanging out on the couch. So I dug that one. Had some obviously I started the riff at the beginning. Eric with some crazy some tom work, which was really cool. Yeah, no, that was a good one, and it definitely opened my eyes to a whole nother world of that whole couch slut attitude. So that was cool.
Yeah, well, then we've got 5 Feet Under, which you talked a little bit about already. I mean, this is kind of an evolutionary record for NoFX at the time. The musicianship on here is obviously much better than Liberal Animation. How impressed are you with with the band at this point being able to write a song like 5 Feet Under?
Yeah, I mean, and for what I was used to listening to, I mean, it was really out of left field for me. I really like the storytelling type lyrics though, which was really cool. And this was about Jimmy Dredd, who was a bartender up in San Francisco. The guy had obviously several brushes with death, and of course that's the 5 feet under. He's not quite 6 feet under. And at one time, he even we had played a show up at the Covered Wagon, I believe it was, or the Chatterbox. And the day before, I had to get speakers for my cabinet, and we went down to this guitar center in San Francisco, and I think I had a couple hundred left on my limit on my credit card, so I bought Celestians to put in that. But uh, then heard later that Jimmy Dredd wrecked his motorcycle there with I believe Little DJ, who was our roadie for a while, was on the back, and they wrecked, and he went flying, and just another example of him being 5 feet under. So really cool storytelling. The guitar parts, a real challenge, which I'm down for. I definitely I took lessons and everything like that, and I was always learning. Randy Rhoads was my guy, with Ozzy Osbourne. So, but I liked the metal guitar players, not necessarily all the music involved in it, but I was definitely more challenged with that stuff. But that one really challenged me for sure. Those guitar parts were tough. So I dove head first into all this stuff. So
Yeah.
didn't have much of a choice.
So we've got Professional Crastination next.
Can't you see how easy it becomes?
Is it fair to say that that's a little bit of ska on the intro
It's
there?
definitely ska. I had just a little bit of experience with ska. Early Bob Marley, some of the Kingston stuff. Um, no idea how to do upstrokes. I don't think really any of us had any idea. They introduced me to Op Ivy, which to this day is one of my favorite bands. Of course, precursor to Rancid with Tim Armstrong and Matt Freeman. Talking about a bass player, that guy's amazing. Matt, you're killing it, buddy. Um, so yeah, big challenge. Not sure I pulled that one off, so I'm not going to say that one's in my favorite, but who's to say? Um, again, the lyrics again probably autobiographical for Mike, but I was starting to now getting used to Mike's tongue-in-cheek kind of punny way of doing things, and so professional crastination. There you go. It's yeah, that was a good one. First experience with ska. Wasn't my last. We definitely did more of that stuff. Again, Mike had a lot of influences, and he liked to nibble on here and there and bring it into the whole NoFX sound. So
Yeah,
that was a good one.
I think that is the very first time we ever hear ska from NoFX.
Probably.
Yeah. But one of my favorite songs is "Mean People Suck."
Mean people suck.
People suck. People suck.
I get the feeling that this was written on the day or something along those lines.
Yeah, not the most Webster unabridged lyric writing on that one. I think it was pretty much cut and dry, right to the point. What's the song about? It is what it is. Hard to play that riff and sing, even the Mean People Suck. I mean, it's even hard to say that. I can hardly say that. But then it was like a da 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 da. So that and say Mean People Suck at the same time. That was a tough one to fit in. So that was probably my first experience with the real fast paced stuff and just hanging on by the skin of your teeth on that one. So, but yeah, not much I can say lyrically about that one, but cut and dry, to the point. Mean People Suck.
Don't ever take away from me my pornography.
Well, one of the worst NoFX songs is "Vanilla Sex." How are you feeling about this one?
That's probably too much information kind of thing. I was like coming in from left field on that one. I think all of us guys were really, maybe they discussed this kind of stuff before I did. Not something I really talked about. It's like what I did in my bedroom, I definitely kept to myself. And Mike, as you've known now, he likes to bring it right out on the front page. So that one was definitely autobiographical for Mike. The lyrics and everything for me, whatever. I get it. No Big Brother. I didn't see it. I wasn't feeling when he wrote that anybody was trying to get into my bedroom, but who knows? That's where he was coming from. The one thing I really liked about it was I got a little bit more lead time on that one. And it wasn't just like 2 seconds or a second here and go this. I actually got to play a lead, more of what I feel like a lead is. And just for fun, we found a wah-wah pedal in the corner of Brett's studio. I had really never played one before. So we connected it and, I was able to do that and play the lead. So I liked it probably more because I was able to do that. And than I was because it's like, yeah, man, stick it to the man. Don't come into my room. I'm doing weird shit in here, So.
Well, it's teasing the next song a little bit with S&M Airlines. So this is my favourite NoFX song from the whole 80s, really. And you guys had
Right.
that early version to listen to with Dave playing guitar. How was it working the music out for this one?
That one was really more up my alley. I mean, great intro bass line. I mean, really showed off Mike's bass playing. Definitely along those lines, Little Joe. I mean, I know there's others. Kind of maybe leaning on the Matt Freeman tone that he was getting on his bass at the time, Fender Precision. Um, he did a smoking job on it, coming in with the jug guitars. This is now you're pulling at my heartstrings on that. That was more of kind of where I was coming from. So, and then Eric kind of let me do the octave chords in the beginning. He does a little lead and then gives me the second part there, and then pick slide, jump, bang right into it, do da do da do da do da do da. I'm sanding, really killing it. Um, yeah, a blast. And then that I got to uh, play again another lead that wasn't just a little blip here and there. It was like I had the first part, minor pentatonic, if anybody knows guitar stuff out there, just some E minor stuff, up at the 12th fret. And then I got to do, some of that woodly stuff, reminiscent of Ozzy, Mr. Crowley, so I love doing that part. Funny thing there was is after we released that record, ran into Dave Wedo. I can't remember where, but he's like, "Hey man, you played my lead wrong, man." And I'm like, "Well, they told me to do whatever I wanted, so I did whatever I wanted." So, but that one to this day, I really pushed when we did the 25th anniversary, the three shows we should have done more of. I really wanted to play that one. And it's like, look, it's the name of one of the records I'm on. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here, right? And Mike's like, man, that song's over 4 minutes long. I'm like, yeah, so it's a great song, but couldn't get him to do it. And we only rehearsed at sound check before that one. And believe it or not, they hadn't played a lot of that stuff in a long time. So I was showing them, parts of Day to Days and Malachi Crunch, which we can talk about later. But no S&M Airlines, and that was probably one of my bigger regrets. I should have pushed that a little harder.
Yeah. Well, there's a fun fact here. Dave played the original leads out of tune.
Yes. Yes, it was I think it was like a 7-inch that they did. I believe Drowning Roses was on the B side, which was some friends of ours from Germany, three-piece band. And I believe that's where the first version of that came out, and that's the first one I heard. So I kind of knew where it was, how many bars I got, the fact that it needs to build up towards the end. So I just I based it maybe loosely on what Dave did, but definitely was able to put my own bite on that.
Well, Mike famously says in Backstage Passport, he says to Melvin, remember when we used to record records without tuners?
Like, dude, just get your guitar working so we can play. Remember when we used to record records with no tuners?
He'll also say you can play really sloppy, but as long as you're in tune, everything will sort of work out fine. But did you ever find that? Like, were they ever recording without tuning?
No, because I don't think Brett would allow it. I think it was one of those things. If you were doing a couple takes on something, it was like I'm almost sure he would say tune. And back then, I think they were Boss tuners where they were in this little case and it would flip and make its own little stand out of it. And we used to hang them, actually put the stand underneath the feet on the cabinets when we played live. And you would literally like unplug from the amp and then plug into the tuner and then, do each string separately. This is before the little white tuners now that all you have to do is change strings. This one, you literally had to like, click over to the A string, click over to the D string. But I remember I was adamant about tuning. I do have an A that rings in my head. It's a 440A that just kind of resonates in the empty noggin here. So no, I'm pretty adamant about that. And if Brett didn't push it, then I would have. And it would have just been, another argument that Mike and I had. But we usually came to some sort of agreement. So no, I think it was necessary, and I believe we did it. So
Well, unlike the Ribbed album, we actually did get a music video from this one for the song S&M Airlines. The very first official NoFX music video. I mean, you could argue that, I suppose, but
yeah.
like, not that anywhere ever played it.
Yeah, the interesting thing about S&M is it was done by Gore Verbinski. And Gore Verbinski was just an assistant somewhere. And Eric and I kind of befriended him to some degree. We shot the video at the Anti Club, which I believe was like East Hollywood Boulevard. We went out and did a lot of the shoot at the Edwards Air Force Base graveyard for airplanes. And of course, he went on to direct, the Pirates of the Caribbean, the Ring movies, and on and on and on and on. And I can't tell you what a shock it was to see the end of Pirates of the Caribbean and see Gore Verbinski written down there. I'm like, what? So that was kind of cool. I can definitely, if I'm going to drop a name at a party, what better name to drop than Gore Verbinski? So.
Yeah, well, could you confirm that Smelly was actually using coat hangers instead of drumsticks for this whole music video?
I have no idea. Lord knows. I mean, yeah, it could have been whatever we had when we got out there. It was a hell of a trek to get out there. I can't even remember how we got there. So I'd have to look, because we're like when we're set up out on the old runway there during that part.
It's
Who
hard to
knows?
see.
I
That's
wouldn't
what
put
they say
anything
on the commentary on one of their
Yeah.
videos.
I wouldn't put anything past Eric, and I don't know, so I have nothing to argue with on that one. You got me. I don't know. I had dislocated my knee, which happened quite often at the time back then. My kneecap slides off, which is a lovely thing. But at the Anti Club, and Gore just missed it. He just panned away. I wanted to actually see it to see what my leg looks like, because usually I put it back in just out of instinct before I can see what it's doing. And he just panned away, and then he comes back, and I'm kind of laying on the stage. So there, you can see that in the video, I'm not doing any jumping out at the graveyard, and I'm only doing like this really bad Chuck Berry duck walk during it, and it's because I've got an ace bandage around my knee, keeping my knee from folding again. And so I was probably more concerned about that and still trying to make the video look decent. Plus, Gore's doing these crazy things. His buddy had an old Toyota pickup. He's laying in the back. He's got a camera duct taped to a PVC pipe. He's running down the runway, getting the shot of the lines. And just before he gets to Mike, the truck veers off, and he pulls up on the camera, just before whacking Mike in the head with it. So, very at its earliest stages, and definitely punk. No two ways about it. How that thing was put together, but amazing that the guitar player for Bulldozer, who was a great band, and then turns into a brilliant director. So kudos to him. Gore, give me a call if you want to hang out, buddy.
We believe in a free America for me. That's right.
So one of the sillier songs on the album is Drug Free America. Now, jokes aside, I don't really have you down as a drug guy. I'm definitely not a drug guy. I mean, I hate that stuff. But were you guys ever clashing in the band at that time, just with the drug use and stuff?
Yeah, no, and oddly enough, Mike wasn't either. We drank, heavily. Eric and I smoked some pot, here and there. So that kind of went along with the Hessian, hippie comments. But other than that, no, I wasn't big on the drug taking. I learned pretty quick how ugly it can be with where Sandon ended up, and I thank God all the time that he was able to come out the other side. I definitely prayed about it, and he and I are really close, which is so cool. And I tell him all the time how much I love him, and the fact that he came out the other side, and told him, I said, one of these days I'm going to play with you, and you're going to be straight. And with the 25th anniversary shows, there were only 3, but I was able to play with him, and he was straight, and he didn't disappoint me. He was he was still smoking it. So not that he didn't play, great back then either. In fact, I new videos are showing up on YouTube all the time, and I'm floored at how well he played in the condition he was in. Um, but no, again, it's Mike's play on words. Drug-free America, of course, is supposed to be no drugs in America. He's saying we want drugs for free. Um, yeah, it wasn't like we all sat down and said, what are we going to write about now? Mike pretty much came up with all the lyrics most of the time. So that was his take on it. And, I'm not going to rock the boat about shit like that. I know he was joking anyway, because Eric and I couldn't even get him to smoke a joint when we were in Amsterdam. So, he was different guy back then too. So, but great song, hard to play. Killer intro. That's Melvin on the intro mostly, but really cool.
So we got Life O'Reilly next. Not a great song, but how you feeling about that one?
Yeah, me neither. Again, somewhat autobiographical. Mike, he kind of always knew that whatever the share was, he was going to get it. And that was been his credo, and he's kind of worked towards it. God bless him. And but yeah, not one of my more favorite songs. But at that point, I was embracing just about anything you were going to throw at me. So I was recording an album with the legendary Starbolt. Yeah, sure, let's do that one. So I was indifferent, let's say that.
Is that a little bit of jazz guitar playing style on that one?
Yeah, possibly. Which wasn't, beyond me entirely. Like I said, I did have lessons. I did go to GIT for a blink, which is the Guitar Institute. I didn't finish there. Lots of things were getting in the way of my studying, mostly going out, on the strip and having a good time most of the time. And that's something that, you really got to focus. That they'll lose you really quick with the curriculum down there. So, but I knew enough seventh chords and whatever that I could get by with that stuff. So, yeah. And again, Mike keeping us on our toes. He would pull that shit out of his ass and, jump on board or, end up sliding down the street,
I'm not so worried about how many I kill. I'm much more concerned with how much beer I spill. How much beer I spill.
Yeah, I think You Drink, You Drive, You Spill is easily one of the fan favourite tracks off this album. But tell us about it, Steve.
It says it all, doesn't it? It's basically, again, here we go with Mike's sense of humor. You drink, you drive. I don't remember what the original saying was actually at this point, because it's been you drink, you drive, you spill for so long. But again, Mike's way of thumbing his nose at establishment. There was definitely a little bit of that going on. Shouldn't have been, but there was. But again, a parody. I love the Fear style intro with the 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, which is where we borrowed that, and just one of those kick you in the teeth kind of songs. One of my favorites. It's short and sweet, and kids will sing along to it. And I remember a lot of times if we had a longer tour, I actually got to sing it, because Mike would struggle after so many shows with singing the higher pitched vocals. So it was probably my first chance to step up and actually sing one of the songs. So that was fun.
Well, yeah,
But
you're
that's a
on
good one.
backing vocals for almost all of the songs, though, aren't you?
Yeah. And on that one, I think it's mostly just Eric and me. And then, of course, it's Greg Graffin and Brett Gurewitz from Bad Religion doing a lot of it. I thought it was cool. I thought Mike was cool with it. I hear later on that he wasn't as cool about it because it made it sound like Bad Religion. But, at the time I thought, hey, it's cool if we can get Graffin and and Mr. Gurwitz in there and sing backgrounds, then great, let's do it. So, but yeah, I got a chance to do a lot of that.
Scream for Change next. I mean, this is an incredible
and I was
song.
going to say, and I got to do voices too.
Is that you
Screaming
doing
for
all the
Change.
voices?
Hey, mister, can you spare some change?
Man, what do you want me? Are you hungry?
No, I'm not hungry. I was just wondering if you could spare a quarter or a dime.
The time, it's about 3:30.
Yeah, I did some of them. Brett is the guy that asked for a quarter or a cigarette. And then Mike does we pitched him up when he did the old lady, but that was my Jim Ignatowski impersonation from Taxi. And then my old Jewish man asking if, what, are you hungry? So that was just, goofing around, hanging the mic. I'm trying to Uniform Choice, I think was the band. I hadn't heard of them at the time, but I think that was Mike's thing. They were screaming for change, I guess, in society. And Mike, of course, you're seeing a pattern here. That's Mike's sense of humor, his pun, screaming for change. Our song was about begging for money. So kind of silly. One of those songs where we went live and we would just ad lib some of the dialogue, and it would, usually end up being, nonsensical. And then sometimes we just yell F you at each other back and forth, and that was screaming for change. So cool guitar part. Eric and I kind of switch off with leads on that one. So that was, it's fun to play, but, it's not going to win us any Grammys, is it?
No, it's one of the highlights of the album, if you ask me.
Cool.
So
See, to each his own.
You'll have to help me out with the pronunciation of the one with the I. It's like a long J word. I have no idea how to say it.
So how can you say that you're proud of your race? Proud of your gender, proud of your faith? Fascism, racism starts out the same. Stop feeding the fire, help put out the flame.
Oh, Jaundiced Eye.
That's it. That's the one.
Yeah, and of course, jaundice is, that condition you get when you turn yellow. I think it's a lack of, I don't know if it's D vitamin that you'll get that from. I know there's other conditions of it, but if you're very yellow in color, you're jaundiced. Now, what the hell Mike was talking about, I'm not sure. I think the jaundiced eye is somebody that has a, that they're kind of skewed in the way they see things, if you will. And I think it had that kind of prejudice is where it's kind of coming from. So jaundiced eye is that prejudice kind of skewed way of looking at things. So as far as that one goes, pretty cool for where it stood for. Has the neat kind of weird intro where we would do this weird circling thing around with our leg up in the air because we were goofy as fuck, So, but in general, I like the lyrics. I like where it's coming from. Probably one of Mike's first leaning into the political realm. Even at a little bit of a societal level there. Excuse me.
Yeah, well, it's one of my favorites on the album for sure. But then
I think that's a good one.
I think it's only on the vinyl version, but oddly enough, it's on my CD copy. It's the song "Go Your Own Way" with Greg Graffin on lead vocals.
Tell me why everything turns around. Back it up, shake it, that's all you wanna do. If I could, baby, I'd give you my socks. Open up, everything's waiting for you.
I can't tell you how that one came along, to be truthful. Kind of an odd one. I did like Fleetwood Mac. I liked him because, of course, Mick was a very unorthodox drummer. Lindsey Buckingham was a phenomenal guitar player, no pick, right? and he wrote some pretty wacky stuff. I kind of wish we would have had a little more of a heads up on that one, so I could have learned maybe a little bit more of it. But played, just kind of took the basic chords and ran with it. And then the lead, I will say, this is my story and I'll stick with it. Somebody said make it very, CC DeVille, or because I don't, I'm not a big fan of the stuff he did with Poison, but that's kind of what they wanted me to do, that realm, and so I really pushed it into that. I would have liked to done something a little bit more creative, but everybody was real happy and laughing, and so it was kind of like, yeah, let's keep it. It's only going to be a bonus track anyway, right? Well, then we start playing it live everywhere we go, so then I just exaggerated that part more and more and more. So, and yeah, it's great having Graffin. Like I say, I was kind of under the opinion that the more of their stuff on it, it couldn't hurt us. We're trying to get off the ground, and at the time, Bad Religion was definitely climbing. Suffer, No Control, and then Against the Grain. I mean, those were big albums for them. So I was all for it.
So was Graffin there doing this live in the studio with you guys?
He came in and did a track, I think, the next day. So we did it, and Mike unfortunately didn't quite sing the parts in the right place. So Greg sang it very much like the record, and it's kind of like a call and response. And some of Mike's responses weren't exactly in the right spot. So but it was a tongue-in-cheek kind of, again, bonus track. Not everybody's going to hear it anyway, so we left it for where it was.
Are there any songs that were recorded for this that didn't make it onto the album?
Nope, that is everything.
Okay.
There are no B tracks on that one at all. It's like whatever we had, we recorded. So
how much did the guys care about the track listing? Like getting the songs in this order and starting and closing the way they did? Was that important to them?
Oh man, yeah, I had that one I had really little involvement with. I'm not sure how much anybody other than, I'm sure that was a Mike Brett thing that they sat down, maybe even exclusively Mike, to even put those in order or however they are. I got to say, I'm not really overly active in even doing that with Speed Buggy USA right now. So yeah, that with in set lists when you're playing live, I mean, other than playing songs and going, that one doesn't really fit there, or that doesn't fit there. I mean, you can move them around a little bit after mastering. That's pretty easy if you don't like a couple songs together. Maybe the key, you don't want two songs in A, you don't want two songs in E, right behind each other. But other than that, it's anybody's guess. I mean, and the album cover, I got to tell you, that's kind of a sore subject for most of us, only because I was picturing something totally different. Ed Repka, of course, did the Circle Jerks album. I think it's Circle Jerks 4 with the skanker kid, on the cover with the big, Roman numeral 4. Great artist. He also did, and I'm not a Megadeth fan at all, but he did a couple of their album covers, so I knew who he was. So I was excited that he was going to be doing it. And then when the proof came, I was like, that's not very punk, is it? So, because with punk, it is supposed to be anarchy, but there's a lot of rules, and I thought maybe that broke a few.
Was
But
Mike,
what do I know?
was Mike at least stoked on it when he saw it? Like, this is the cover for sure.
Yeah, I don't think any of us would. I don't think we'd use the word stoked. We could appreciate the artwork for it. I don't recall a whole lot of pushback though. But I believe Brett paid like either $1,200 or $1,500 for the original. I guess he's got the original. So I don't know. I guess maybe once he paid for it, it's like, well, here it is. Here's your album cover. None more black, right? That's a Spinal Tap moment for sure.
How much did you care about sitting in on the mixing sessions?
I was there for pretty much most of it. Again, it was such a new experience for me. Yeah, I was like, it was my first or my second rodeo, but yeah, I was totally interested with it. I mean, we did it with 2-inch tape, back then, and they would literally cut it and splice it with magnetic tape, and where they would find the spots where they would cut in, is right there. Okay, grease pencil, cut it, put it in. I mean, that fascinated the hell out of me. So, and I do recording now, so it was the early spark of doing that for me. So yeah, I was intrigued. I wasn't going anywhere, and again, I had nowhere else to be. So I wanted to be there the whole time, and I'm really glad I was. So learned a lot.
Well, yeah, man. It's kind of cool that people will still think of this as the Steve album. I mean, it's just got your prints all over it. It's just a great, incredible album. What actually happened first, though? Was it recording this or playing live with the band?
I think we might have played S&M live, but no, that one actually maybe not even at all. Like I say, I was maybe 3 weeks in the band, and so we were just rehearsing this stuff and wanting to be able to go in and do that live performance. Cut, everything is. eh, Most of my recording sessions, there hasn't been a whole lot of money behind it. So it's like, oh, well, let me get in and fix that. Or, hey, we can, let's do this. And it's like, well, we don't have the money to do that. So it's like, you want to get in there and do the recording and move on and get out. So it was mostly just rehearsing it to try to really be able to get in there, get it done first couple of takes and get out of there. So, no, that was all new. With Ribbed, there we definitely did a couple of songs where it's like this is going to be on a new album um, before we recorded it. But I think even with Ribbed, we did a lot of it just straight out of the rehearsal studio.
Yeah.
I find it advantageous to play the stuff live though, because the more you play it, of course, the better you're gonna, feel about it. You're gonna come up with a cooler part. Um, so I highly recommend playing it live before you record it, at least a couple of the songs.
So once this album comes out, are you just sending it to everyone? Are you sending it to your parents? Are you making some phone calls? Check out this thing that I did.
Yeah, we did a couple of them. It was interesting though because we did it, and then it was like hurry up and wait, and we had a 3 month, 3.5 month tour that we did. My first tour, get in the Calabasas van, um, and head out on the road, and we'll see LA in 3.5 months. And while we're out there, we may have a week booked, but then Mike was doing all the booking, and nobody to blame. It's but just sometimes some shows would fall through, so we would end up maybe stuck at somebody's house along the way. And in this particular occasion, we were probably a good third of the way through the tour, and we were in Lincoln, Nebraska, at these skinheads. They were really nice skinheads, though. I mean, I'd heard terrible things, and these guys are really cool. But it was this dry county in Nebraska near Lincoln, and I remember being there and having the albums actually shipped there. So I very distinctly remember opening up the album box, sitting on the stairs. It was a two-story house, sitting on the stairs that went up, and we cut it open and pulled the album out, and there's the album cover, sure enough, and the pictures of us from the country club on the back of the record, and yeah, being very excited. I mean, that was my first. That was everything for me. That was like, wow, this is my first album. So um, I probably ended up maybe stashing a couple away in my suitcase or something, but we still had 2 more months, to go on tour. So, but yeah, there's people now that I talk to that are like, hey man, I still got that album you gave to me back in, '89 or whenever it was. So yeah, for sure. That was really cool. That was my first record.
Yeah, man. So do you ever go back and listen to it just for the fun of it?
Probably. I mean, a few of the songs are in my rotation on Spotify. I did go through um, before the San Pedro show. I wasn't sure if I was going to be playing any of the songs with them or not. So I went through some that I thought we might do. And then back at the 25th anniversary show, kind of same deal. I wanted to maybe learn 25 songs, and then out of that, we would pick maybe 9 or 10. Um, but unfortunately, with the San Pedro show, they did call me up to do Malachi Crunch, of course, which is off the Ribbed album. The security wouldn't even let me on stage, even though I have my backstage laminate and everything. They were real militant. The next night, though, we got everybody up and we did that the thing with all the amps on the stage, and we all did the Decline. But that was a song I didn't play on, so I kind of had to learn that. And then Jeff Abarta, who used to work at Epitaph, he kind of helped me out. He's like, I'm like, what are the chords again, man? And he kind of showed it to me. So, but no, it's not really in my regular rotation. But I have such a eclectic taste as far as music goes. I listen to a lot of country. I listen to a lot of ethereal shit. It just depends on what I'm doing. So. On drives, if we're on tour or something, we'll throw the heavier stuff in. So some of that might sneak into rotation, but I'm a little weird about listening to my own band.
Favorite song from the album?
S&M.
Yeah, man, same.
I mean, just from the beginning.
All right, man, we'll pause it there, I think, and then we'll move on to Ribbed.
Cool.
The drums have so much attitude coming through. Is that not you creating your own beats and deciding where fills go?
Yeah, that absolutely is me. I mean, for sure. I'm playing what feels right to me, and I don't say that I'm a drummer's drummer. Like, there's drummers that want to show off and do crazy shit and all this stuff. I wanted to play stuff that complements the song, so I'm a musician's drummer. I try to approach playing songs musically, what complements the whole thing as a whole, rather than whenever there's a break, whenever there's this or that, put something complicated in. So, I mean, maybe my drumming was progressing, maybe it wasn't, but Mike's songwriting was progressing. So that gave me like when I played in Costa Cause, our music was way different. So I, one song would be this, one song would be that. So I had that in my back pocket. Now that Mike's music writing is getting better, it allowed me to put more musical stuff in there. So it wasn't a conscious thing; it was just a natural progression of the band in total.